Hey, welcome to 4am Art. In this video, we are going to be drawing these lips in pencil, and I'm actually just going to be using a regular number 2 pencil. So as always, start blocking in the basic shapes as well as you can. Now, I'm more or less drawing this from memory, but I've drawn so many lips that it's more or less become second nature, although I could probably use a little more practice. When you're first starting out, definitely draw lips from references just so you get a feel for how lips are shaped. Of course, there are many different shapes of lips, so draw as many as you can. Once you draw a good number, you'll be able to draw these from memory as well. So with these lips, they're not full frontal view exactly. They're offset just a little bit. So there will be some foreshortening of the right side of the lips. As you can see, it's more vertical, the upper lip. If the lips are slightly open as these lips are, you will see some of the teeth. And just because it's a little bit offset, remember that the center line of the teeth, the middle two teeth, will be a little bit off to the right of the upper teeth compared to the lower teeth. There'll be a little bit of a change in the angle. So once I have that down, I'll darken the final outline of the lips and then start putting in some shading. Initially, you'll want to start, of course, with the lighter tones. You can always make it darker. It's a little bit more difficult to lighten it up, depending on the effect you're going after, of course. Now, notice the direction that my pencil strokes are going. I'm following the contours of the lips, and there are striations in the lip surface. And even though I'm going to blend these in later, those pencil strokes will still show up, and it'll help with the effect of showing the texture and the direction of those lines on the lip surface. I start adding more strokes right above the previous layer, just to start getting the values a little bit darker. We're going to assume that the light is coming from the upper part or upper left, and so the lower right areas will be a little bit darker, and that's why I darken the right side a bit. I'm using a blending stump at this point just to kind of blend things in a little bit, and that'll be the under layer where upon which I'll add more detail with more strokes, more lines, and we'll see that in a little bit. To get darker tones, you can go over it multiple times as well. At this point, I'm using the eraser, and if you want fine lines using the eraser, you'll want to make sure that the edges of your eraser are fairly sharp. In this case, my eraser wasn't particularly sharp, and it was a bit rounded, but I got the effect that I wanted. So here's the time where I'm adding a little bit more detail. I'm using the same pencil again. Remember, you can just vary the pressure to get different values, darker tones, just push harder. I will be using another darker pencil, either an ebony, Prismacolor ebony pencil, or a general layout pencil, which are a little bit softer and darker than the number 2 pencil. So just add more pencil strokes to gradually get to the values that you want. We're at the lipstick here at this point, and same thing. For this particular object, the light's hitting the upper part more, so I'm getting the left side a little bit darker compared to the right, and because this is a darker color lipstick, I've got it a little bit darker tones. Now this kind of solid mask here on the case of the lipstick is a reflection of another object that's possibly in the room. Otherwise, you would have a more gradual gradient for the lipstick case. Lipstick cases tend to be a little bit shiny, whether it's plastic or metal. Now the lower lip, just because of the angle that it sits, it's going to catch more light typically than the upper lip. And so I'm starting again with lighter tones initially, and I'm leaving more white paper just to show that those will be the highlights in a little bit. It just makes it easier. That way I'm not having to erase as much, if at all. You will still have some darker tones there in the upper part of the lower lip, and that's what I'm doing here. Again, I'm trying to use the direction of the striations of the lips as much as possible as far as the pencil stroke direction. And as before, just slowly building up the values from light to the darker areas. Of course, the lower outline, lower edge of the lip will be the darkest. And here I'm starting to add a little bit more pencil pressure. Just notice that a lot of my pencil strokes are really very short. The whole idea is to just build up to the value that you want eventually. Just like the upper lip, I'm building up the undertones here for the lower lip. And here I'm adding more detail, the striations that I mentioned, with pencil strokes. Again, following the contour of the lips. The midline of the lips, of course, those striations will be straighter, and as you go off to either side, they will be more curved. And again, this shows the shape of the lips, how it's full, curved, and this really adds a lot as far as the three-dimensionality of your drawing. Sometimes it's hard to, well, depending on the effect you want, you could leave more pencil strokes or try to blend it more. So I'm using a kind of a combination here. Now, always go back and take a look at your drawing and see if there are parts that are a little bit too dark compared to the others. You want it to be a fairly even toned drawing where one part's not too dark. I noticed that the left corner here was a little bit too dark, and so I'm trying to add more values to the other parts just to even it out a little bit. And go back and add more detail depending on how detailed you want it. Now, remember I left the paper plain to show the highlights, but this particular paper still isn't pure white. It's kind of a grayish tone. So here I'm using Posca acrylic paint markers just to add that extra brightness to the highlights. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If so, please give me a like and give me a comment, and please subscribe for more videos on how to draw. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.